On everyone, welcome to another episode. That's my little soundboard right there of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. I am Jack Allen. First, go follow me on Twitter at Kojak Podcast and on Instagram at Kojak Podcast. You can follow me on all those socials, and I'm on a few others. But if you want to support the show, I got a Patreon. So thanks to all my new subscribers or Patreon supporters, whatever you'd like to be called. And I also got a Venmo, and I got a link tree, or you can just DM me and I can direct you to the right way. But if you could leave a review or subscribe on YouTube, that is just as awesome to me. I always say this like every show, but it means so much to me, the reviews I get. And it's awesome. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Today's episode, everyone. Oh, if you're watching, my cat just jumped on top of my book stand behind me. But yeah, so today's episode, guys, is the fourth part of our Jesuit story. And I'm just tweeting it out. Jesuit, DC symbolism, and more. All right. So this is the fourth part. So if you've been watching the first three, thank you. If you haven't, you won't really need to watch them to understand. This is like the best show though, dude. I'm almost like a little nervous because I'm so excited to do this show. But we talked about the story of the Jesuits and all these little tricks they did to become this powerhouse of an organization. So powerful. And today we're going to go over, we finished last episode. We just stopped a little early. My mother-in-law or future mother-in-law was coming into town, and can't be Jack Allen while they come in. She's a big CNN lady. But we kind of ended up right before the Revolutionary War kicked off. So today we're going to start from there. And if you didn't last episode, just to go over quickly, we ended with the Tea Party. And just again, it's the same tricks over and over again, right? The Tea Party was these Freemasons. They dressed up in Indian garb. So all witnesses thought it was Native Americans that were doing it. And why they dumped that tea was because King George, who didn't want a war, they were, hurting for cash. They were spread too thin. The last thing he wants is a revolution in this land that's creating so much prosperity, so much wealth for the empire. But he's surrounded by corrupt people that were all Jesuit affiliated. My cat's scratching the wall, but they were Jesuit affiliated. So they pushed him to do it. So he put a 1 shilling per pound of tea, and there was like millions of pounds of tea. So what he should have done if he wanted to avoid a war is kept it at the 1 shilling or whatever. And what did he do? He upped it to 3 shillings per pound. And like I said, there was millions and millions of pounds of tea in this harbor, and some of them got dumped by the Freemasons, and that kind of kicked off the war. But it's a similar tactic, right? Like if you go listen to the previous episodes, it honestly reminds me of like World War I and every war, how like little things seemingly that have no real, like they're like, oh, that wasn't cool when the other side is doing it, but it just then explodes. And it's almost like it's too perfect to happen without someone behind the scenes pulling these strings, knowing that each little step is going to break people down more and more. Regardless. So we ended with that. And most of you guys, again, you probably have listened to him, but Lorenzo Richie is this character that we keep talking about. So he was the Black Pope. He was the Black Pope during the Revolutionary War, right up to it, pulling all these strings leading up to this perfect event for him. Then goal is to put Jesuits in this new world and create a second Rome, create the new Roman Empire, or Roman Empire 2.0. And I don't know where I stand. I'll give you my opinion at the end, but powerful people don't just let go of power, right? That's pretty acceptable. If you are a billionaire, rich, like so much money, all these things, you're not going to say, well, all right, that's the end of that. It was a good run. No, you stay in power. So that is one thing that leads up, that makes me believe that it's possible that this group was able to manipulate so much from behind the scenes. And like I said, I'm like literally so excited to tell you guys this story about him. It is a long one. So if you got to come back and listen later, I totally get it. But this is a crazy, crazy episode. So 1775, official 11/19, which is actually my birthday. Kind of crazy. Not 1775, but November 19th. It was signed. The Jesuits were dissolved officially. Everyone was sick of them, dude. And they did it themselves. They purposely got them dissolved and they did this before in many of their other European countries. They would kick themselves out of the country because they controlled the politicians that made these rules. They were the guys the kings would confess to. There was like a saying like, only confess to the Jesuits because they'll put a pillow under your knees and your elbows. It's just like so old, right? And that sounds so old, but they're like, oh, they're the easiest. They won't make you do all this stuff. They'll let you get away with whatever you want. And they did that so they would get all the secrets, but they were dissolved, restored in 1814. But we talked about this many times over the shows. The oath that these guys had to take to become a top like Jesuit dog, they would go in this room with the Pope, the Black Pope, and a guy that like held a sign that was like death to tyrants, even though they're the tyrants. I don't know. I guess tyrants in their mind who are not helping them expand the Roman Catholic Church. But they would then put your own blood on a knife and put it next on your heart, pressing in your heart. And you had to say this long oath, how that you will for life be loyal. You will never share the secrets. You will never talk about you don't talk about Fight Club. And this kind of reminds me of how many secret societies do this. Freemasonry, the mafia, all things that have been ran in our world by the CIA. But it's just interesting that, and the theory is, especially by Tupper Saucy, the book that we're talking about, he claims that the Jesuits started Freemasonry. They started Rosicrucianism. They started the Illuminati. And there's some evidence to point to that. Adam Weishaupt, who was the creator of the Illuminati, he was educated by the Jesuits. His dad was a Jesuit priest, I believe. I think he was kicked out of the Jesuits eventually. But there's definitely some evidence that points to that. They're ran exactly like the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar, they worshipped a goat head. Oh my God, what's the goat head? The Baphomet. Let's just get to we got so much stuff to go over here. I'm like getting way sidetracked. So here we go. So, so one thing, the Jesuits got disbanded, right? They said, you're out, you're done, it's over with. So did you think they went crying? No, they returned to their day jobs. That was the great thing about the Jesuits. They never wore garb. They were banned from wearing their garb in many countries, like whatever they want. So they went back to running encyclopedias. You can see the power that would create. Doctors, lawyers, theater, entertainment. What's up, Pressy? Thanks for stopping in, dude. But theater and entertainment, that was another thing. They created the first like nationwide, European-wide theater. And all these theaters had tons of symbolism, hidden under symbolism, which this whole episode is about, the symbolism in DC. But what do we see in our movies? Did entertainment change in any way, shape, or form? No. When we have people's podcasts that's solely dedicated to looking at symbolism in movies and TV shows. They did it then in the 1500s and the 1600s. There was the quote, I keep mentioning it, but it's such an amazing quote. These 12 Bavarian princes were at a play in Germany. It was all about making fun of Protestants. And so when the play was over, they were Protestants. They went and did these spiritual exercises that Ignatius of Loyola, the Jesuit founder, created. He would like whip himself and things like that. So people wouldn't do that, but they did all of his exercises like meditation, intense prayer, all this stuff. And the one Jesuit guy said, wow, this play is more effective than 100 sermons is. So you can see, again, if something's working brilliantly, you don't say, well, that was great, guys. That worked awesome. Let's end it there. All right, let's go home. We'll think of something else. No, you improve upon it. You make it even better. And that's what they did. So yes. So the Society of Jesus was dead. So, but the people lived on, right? The Jesuits still are, they may not have an organization, but do you think they stopped talking to each other? Do you think they gave up their oath, this oath where they swear life and limb and everything on this oath? You think they said, well, government says we're done. I guess I'm done. That's it. We're done for this. No, they just laid low and they repopulated otherwhere in secret societies like Freemasonry and blah, blah, blah. So now this is where we already get crazy. So is it crazy that Lorenzo Richie, the Black Pope, the organizer of the Revolutionary War, is it possible that he faked his own death? Dun, dun, dun. If I had my soundboard, I would say dun, dun, dun. So Lorenzo Richie, supposedly, he dies in his cell 11/24/1775, 6 days after the Jesuits are disbanded. And that may sound crazy, right? People that maybe are a little bit normal that listen to this show that, aren't sold on conspiracies, you'd say, no, that's insane. You can't fake your own death. Well, he would not be the first one to do it. This is very popular in these secret groups. It's called a philosophic death. Sir Francis Bacon did this. He allowed other people to claim his work, all these books and things he wrote. He let other people do it because he took this philosophic death. It's that and I'm not great at symbolism. Maybe like NY Patriot would be a better guy to ask about this, but it's an esoteric belief, like you recreate, lead to gold, that whole thing. So the guy in charge of his burial, Richie's burial, he had this huge ceremony and, band and all this stuff, was a guy that we talked about last episode, Francis Thorpe. He was a Roman information guy. He was in England. He'd pass info about Rome to his networks, and he was a Carol collaborator. And if you don't watch last episode, I'll explain some of these people as we get going. So anyway, 7075, chaos has begun in the New World. We are fighting. We had a guy pulling the strings for the last 15 years, Richie, leading to this moment. He has done so much. This is his life's work. Do you think he's just going to give it up? Do you think he's going to say, I'm getting older, I'm done, let's retire? No. So now let's get to this crazy speculation that he faked his death. So the general of top secret, James Bond-esque, who just fakes his death, would not arrive in America like, yoo-hoo, I am here. Yo, it is me, the guy that's been behind the scenes, your superior general who's running Freemasonry, who's been running the Jesuits. I'm here. No, but he also wouldn't just stay in the background. I mean, he set this up like a chessboard, ready to put that last move to checkmate. And so he's like 72 years old, and he is going to be there right in the action to make sure his plans continue without a hitch. So how do you prove this? How could I say he faked his death, right? Or how could the author say he faked his death? Well, we got some evidence that documented this journey, and you tell me what you think, but I think it sounds pretty crazy and pretty possible. So during the fall of 1775, let me add my thing to this stream. Boop. There we go. All right. So Congress pulled a few people together at 1775 to design the colonial flag. They're like, we need a flag, So the committee of these big American names gets together. You got Franklin, George Washington, Benjamin Harrison, and then you have an unnamed guy. So now think, there are elites today, Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab. They're having a meeting. They're going to a house to have this super secret meeting. They're in rebellion. They're against the government. You think they're just going to let any Joe Schmo walk into your meeting? No, you absolutely would not. These are the modern day bosses of the time. These guys, we still talk about, they're called our founding fathers. Do you think they're just going to be in a hotel having a meeting? They go, hey, who's that old guy that just walked in? Hey, can we get your opinion on this, sir? We're trying to design the flag for this country that we're building. Would love your take. No, they wouldn't do that. But there was someone in the flag committee that was only known as an elder. He was known as the professor, which is a cool nickname. I will give him that. And the only reason why we know who this was this guy's name, this professor, is because there was a hostess there for this meeting and she had a diary. That is the only reason why this guy, and he pops up more than this story. But anyway, Richie at this point had not been seen for 2 years. He had solidified his corrupt Cardinal Brassy to get elected as the next Black Pope. And he was out of sight, out of mind, totally gone. And this was already before his death, right? He didn't actually die yet, but he had not been seen for 2 years. He was supposedly also under house arrest. Right. The most powerful man in the world is on house arrest. Kind of like it's like an Epstein-like story, right? So that's another example of faking death. I don't think he's probably dead. I don't think. I don't know. I don't even want to get into that. But so the faking of death isn't that crazy of a conspiracy. So since his arrival, he resided in this private home where the hostess said he was earnest and intelligent. And she said that this guy, this professor, was around 70 years of age. Okay, that's how Richie was 72. He knew many languages and had an encyclopedic knowledge of history. Well, the Jesuits were making many of the encyclopedias at the time. The Black Pope certainly is an intelligent man. He's set up this whole Revolutionary War. He knows history well. So this sounds like possibly could be our guy, right? This could be Richie, the professor. So he's kept locked away a large, very old iron chest, a heavy oak chest with rare books, manuscript, ancient manuscripts. He spent much of his time deciphering and translating writings. That's what the hostess said about the professor. Now, we remember how the Medici library, it was filled with so many ancient documents, esoteric Kabbalah documents, and the Medici family basically picked the popes of Rome. They were very close with the Jesuits. And the Medici library also, like, that was Alexandria. A lot of those documents got to the Medici library. So it's unheard of stuff to regular folks like you and me. But what kind of documents would somebody, like, he's either mentally ill because he's just like looking at foreign documents and translating it, or these are ancient documents that, and she was correct, they were ancient documents that Richie is translating, spells, whatever Kabbalah stuff, right? Weird occult stuff that we don't know about. But anyway, December 13th, the committee arrives in Cambridge for a midday feast. So Washington, Franklin, all those geezers. And this professor has greeted these celebrities with grace, ease, and dignity. And when Ben Franklin greeted him, oh, this is huge, they closed their hands and fingers in a peculiar way. And there was an instantaneous, apparent, mutually gratified recognition. And these are direct quotes, again, from this diary of the hostess. Now, handshake. What peculiar handshake? What's a peculiar handshake? Is shaking hands peculiar inherently? I mean, people know what a handshake looks like. But what is peculiar handshake would be a Freemasonic handshake or a secret society handshake that we do not see every day. So odd choice of words that she used. Is it possible he is making himself known? Like, I was in a fraternity. There was a secret handshake in your fraternity to let you know that you are a brother. So this is not too far-fetched at all that he's at least a Freemason, the professor, at minimum. So the discussion began with colonies and the relation to the mother country and all this stuff like that. After lunch, George Washington and Franklin officially invite the professor to join the committee as one of his members. Again, this is amazing. Some random old guy who was just at the house you guys had your meeting at, you just let him into this elite club of huge decision-making? That doesn't make any sense unless he is someone very powerful that you purposely picked him or you organized this. So he joins. He says, okay, I guess I'll join. The hostess says, they also asked the hostess to join because she is a, quote, superior woman. And again, I'm just saying all this stuff because it proves, or it helps add to the evidence that this was Lorenzo Richie. This was the Black Pope that met these guys right at the beginning of the Revolutionary War. But they asked this woman to join, and this is shocking. But it's shocking because women couldn't even own a bank account until like the 50s. But the Jesuits had been employing women spies for literally hundreds of years. So again, just like setting up evidence to prove that this is Lorenzo Richie. The rest of the afternoon, Franklin and the professor spent the afternoon strolling about hand in hand. And when they returned, they looked like they had solved a perplexing problem. They decided that they did not want to design the flag that will represent an independent nation, but instead one that will testify our present loyalty as English subjects, one that had been in use for a half a century and already recognized by the British government. A flag having red and white stripes with the Grand Union flag of Great Britain in the upper left corner. Now, the colonists would know they are fighting under the flag of an international corporation that probably wouldn't fly, right? This flag is the East India Trading Company flag, which in itself, there's probably a rabbit hole we could spin off of this, but that was the first flag of the colonists, at 1775. So how do you respond to that? Because the people would know that that's a corporation, international corporation's flag. And the professor, being the brilliant man that he was, the Union flag of the mother country is retained as the union of our new flag to announce that the colonies are loyal to the just and legitimate sovereignty of the British government. The 13 stripes will at once be understood to represent 13 colonies. Equal width equals equal rank. The stripes will announce the unity of interest, cooperative union. The white stripes will signify our demands. The red stripes will declare that we have determination, enthusiasm. So he's just explaining what they're going to do. Also, weirdly, the professor said that severance will occur. This was huge. The severance will occur before the sun in its next summer strength. How did this random old guy know that in a year, in the summer, July 4th, 1776, a year before, he knew we would declare independence? How does this random guy at this hotel know when the United States is going to declare independence when no one else does? Unless he is our guy, right? He also said the flag would be great, the flag to pick this one. And for you guys listening, it's 13 red, white stripes like our flag today. And instead of the stars, it is called the Union Jack. And it's just like an asterisk with a red cross. Oh, red cross makes me think Jesuits again. But he said, oh, well, this flag's perfect because it'll be easy to modify should we decide to go on the independence that I think is going to happen. And he suggested we'll put the stars behind it. And his idea, huge hit, shocking, right? Franklin and Washington loved it. They unanimously adopted the flag. See, and these guys are so smart, dude. It's all about trickery. It's all about trickery. So January 2nd, George Washington hoisted the flag to his army and citizens in the vicinity of British forces in Boston. What did the British forces do? You think they said, oh my God, we're so screwed, they're going to fight back? No, they cheered. They thought we were surrendering. I say we, America. They saluted the flag, the redcoats, and then they gave a 13-gun salute, the highest military compliment, and that which means Godspeed to you. And the professor, who has built his career in this war on confusion, and I'm saying that the professor is definitely Richie. He knew that chaos and confusion would ensue. He was the god of confusion. The redcoats were toasting the good health of the rebels and another Sun Tzu trick to confuse and command armies not of your own. That's like again, it's tough because I'm doing all these episodes, and if you didn't watch, but Sun Tzu and the Art of War, it was big in the Richie story. Now, this isn't so that's the one proof to show that Richie is this guy known as the professor. Here's the second one. So in February of 1776, so just turned to the new year, Congress set Franklin, few others, to form a union with Canada against England. John Adams told them you should bring John Carroll, who basically owned Maryland, who was a Jesuit bishop. So how might a Jesuit bishop help form a union with Canada? And also the professor came along for this trip. Well, Canada was basically Quebec, and Quebec was owned by the British in 1763, predominantly Roman Catholic. So this Jesuit priest with huge money bags, a professor, a random old guy that they just picked up at the hotel. Still, that's why, again, that's absurd to believe that this is not just some random dude. And a Freemason all go to Canada. Carroll was deemed a persona non grata, so it was a fail, right? Canada said, I can't work with you guys. You got this guy. We hate him, Carroll. He's a slime bag. And they said, we're not going to ally with you. If you guys try to fight Britain, we're not allying with you. But they also refused to ally with Great Britain. So they were neutral. So this was a victory. This was the goal. The whole point is to alienate an empire that spread too thin. And Franklin, Adams, Carroll, and the professor all were able to do that. It was a victory. Franklin got sick on the way home. Carroll moves into his Philly home. And the professor moves in to Ben Franklin's home weeks before the Declaration of Independence is created. Again, it is absurd to think that some random guy that they just found at a hotel weeks earlier designs the flag, and then he just, like, he goes to live with one of the most powerful men in this new world and Europe, Ben Franklin, the Grand Freemason of Pennsylvania, of United States. No, this guy is somebody. The professor is somebody. And so now Philly at this time is crawling with propaganda machines. Propaganda, as we know, has controlled us. So it's worked for the past 500 years, probably longer than that. And the same people that Richie had sent over the course of the years, like he sent over John Locke and all these great writers and propagandists. Richie brought them all to America, or got them to go there to create chaos. He wanted this revolution. He wanted Rome 2.0, a new world where Rome could dominate militarily, or however, all these resources, this new world. And this was insane too. So John Adams, July 3rd, 1776, he wrote his letter to his wife, and he's a great writer. I mean, all these guys, they're so brilliant, right? They're so smart. No public schooling then, no gender studies classes required in 1776. No mandatory schooling yet either, but these guys were brilliant. So I'm just saying that to prove school is utterly pointless. But he wrote, a resolution without one dissenting colony to have full power to make war, conclude peace, and establish commerce. The second day of July, 1776 will be the most memorable date in history of America, with parades, shows, games, sports, gun bells, bonfires. So why the second? Was it random? I know obviously we celebrate the 4th, but it was the 2nd. So we've learned everything. Gematria dates are so important to the Jesuits and the Freemasons. This is their world, is this numerology and gematria. That's why I think it's interesting with people that like study it in our community, and they're like, oh, look at these connections, like 9/11, there's powerful numbers behind this. But to live your life by it, probably not the best idea. You're probably opening yourself up to things that I don't know if I would want to open myself up, because I wouldn't know how to close it. So was the second random? No, the second day in July is rich of Kabbalah and liturgical power. In liturgical calendars, it is not authorized anywhere in the Bible, but the Catholics may plead with God for favors on these days with the consecrated saint of that day. Maryland, for example, is grounded in a liturgical calendar. Roman Catholics, they set sail from England under the Jesuit father, Andrew White. This is nuts. This is nice. On 11/22/1633. It was the feast day of the Saint Cecilia. She was a patroness of musicians. They reached landfall the following year on March 25th, Annunciation Day, feast of the angel Gabriel announcement to the Virgin Mary she's pregnant with the Son of God. Symbolism, folks. So listen to that story. So March 25th is Annunciation Day, where Gabriel announces the Virgin Mary is pregnant with the Son of God. Okay. So just like Mary was impregnated, the new world was being impregnated with the seed of Jesuits, led by Jesuit priest Andrew White. On 1 year to the day later, Father White consecrated the colony of Maryland to the Virgin Mary. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe they just love Mary, but Mary we're going to get into so soon. And here's even more craziness. Even the year of independence is perfectly designed in gematria. So the year 1776 is MDCCLXXVI. MDC equals 1600. 1600 in gematria, 1 plus 6 equals 7. CLX equals 160. 1 plus 6 equals 7, because you drop the zeros in gematria. XVI equals 16. 1 plus 6 is 7. So the Latin equivalent of 1776 is an interesting number. It's structured upon 666 and 777. 6 in the Bible is always associated with humanity, 7 with divinity. The two numbers equal 13, which represent a rebellion. Now, this is why gematria is confusing as hell, because if you're listening, I don't know if you can grasp what I'm saying without visualizing it. But regardless, 1776 was not a chance date. The numbers in 1776 are associated with humanity, divinity, and rebellion. That is what our new world is based on, right? Rebellion, blah, blah, blah. So all this mumbo jumbo is eerily connected to that letter I was talking about, John Adams. He said that independence should have been declared in December 1775. And it would, if I could write with freedom, this is what he wrote to his wife. If I could write with freedom, I could easily convince you that of the great and glorious effects this would have, and explain it to you in the manner how. So I don't know why he said that, because according to the Kabbalah, he is wrong. But it shows that if he could write with freedom, I would explain why, that this was the time, this was the great and glorious time to do it. So there's a reason. One, someone's reading his letters, possibly, or two, there's a reason why they waited till 1776. All these guys are Freemasons, our founding fathers, are Gnostic Luciferians, just like the Jesuits at the top. So as a Jesuit Gnostic, whatever you want to call them, they would see that 1776 because they study Kabbalah, they study esoteric knowledge, all this stuff. They would see that 1776 encapsulates the very origins of the Society of Jesus. How does 1776 work like that? Well, MDC, the first three letters, Milice du Christ, the Christian militia, which was the classification of the Jesuits. MDC also is Medici, the family pope name of Leo X that created this whole chaos with the Protestants and the Catholics. CLX is, the historians call this century of Loyola history of Leo X. So you can see century of Leo X, CLX, and XVI, the last three, that's 16, the 16th century, the same year of the creation of the Jesuits. So is this a stretch? Is this like mumbo jumbo? Possibly, but what I'm saying is they believe it. I don't believe it. I don't think there is any power that is generated because of like numbers. I don't live my life that way, but these people do. Washington slaughtered the mountain men that helped him win the revolution. Damn, dude, that's wild. And we're going to get into Washington's whole deification that is crazy. But think of how many times we see 1776 on everything, and think how much energy. It's called like charging the sigil, like you're trying to create power behind this number, this event. We are pounded with 1776. So if there is real geometric power behind that, we are keeping it alive, my friends, right? And so again, I don't know. I don't worship the stars. I don't worship gematria, but I just found this interesting. These people do. Think of 9/11. 9/11 is a gematria's amusement park. These numbers, it wasn't a coincidence. What was it? Like, I think 8:59, 9/11, when the second tower fell. All these times are specifically chosen for a reason. And just like 9/11. So is it too much of a stretch to think that we declared independence on a certain day because our founding fathers were Freemasonic, Gnostic Luciferians? I don't think that's a stretch at all. And I think any rational person that knows a little bit about conspiracies and the Freemasons, they have a religion, dude. Their religion is this Kabbalah worship. So that's what they practice in that. I don't think that's crazy at all. All right. So yeah, we talked about the flag that we got here. We talked about the flag, the random professor this rando dude that was chilling at a hotel got cool with the most powerful people in the new world. But yeah, so let's take another story here. So the night of July 4th, Philadelphia, streets are tense. Independence has been resolved, but everyone's too afraid to sign the paper. They're having second thoughts. They're like, damn, I'm going to put my name on this shit. And if this fails, I'm ruined. I will never financially recover from this. People, if you watch that Tiger show, that's what he says. So people are yelling and debating in the room. There's, like, no, we got to sign it. We can't sign it. Let's not do this. Let's do it. Blah, blah, blah. And then another voice rings out. He yells out, God has given America to be free. And everyone says, holy shit, that's it. I'm signing it. I'm signing the paper. And this is not a primary source story. This is a Manly P. Hall story. But this story, he could have gotten it from his brotherhood. These guys were all Freemasons. So again, it's a similar story as the professor who created the flag, this random guy. So a random guy in this crowd of people about to sign the Declaration. And this random person also did not sign the Declaration. Who's that? Who's in the room but not signing the paper, but inspiring everyone to sign the paper? Lorenzo Richie is, who just faked his death. But so a stranger in the room of the most powerful men in the country, everyone's yelling at each other. He is able to quiet them down by yelling one thing. Okay, right. So he's just some random. If I was in a room with all of the podcasting community, there's way bigger guys than me, and some random dude just starts yelling in the room about an idea, I would look at him and say, who the F are you? Right? So this is why I'm saying that this is totally a plausible story that Lorenzo Richie faked his death to see his creation. And remember Richie's old oak chest with his ancient manuscripts and documents. What else if he didn't just say this quote, this little phrase to inspire everyone? What if he assured them that he has like he shows them these documents to prove that they have the financial support of the world, that he has unlimited funding, that he can get enough funds for us to beat any country? That would inspire people to sign, because think, before this, like there's been chaos in the new world, but these people are the millionaires of their day. They have their life's made, dude. They're not struggling to eat. They are not, they're Freemasons. Do you think that a millionaire would you do it? Would you risk everything? You have 10 cars, you have 5 houses, you have servants. Are you going to sign a document that you're going to take on the biggest empire in the world and risk it all for freedom? You have ultimate freedom. The only people that don't have freedom are the poor people. You're just paying taxes. We pay taxes now. Would you? I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would. So what if that though would inspire people to sign? If you had something that said, guys, there ain't no way we're losing, we're going to win, then you would sign. So if you struggle with that, that's okay. I don't know, the evidence of that isn't solid, but regardless, you can just stick with how 13 Protestant colonies chose to be ruled from a federal city that was named Rome, in a city situated within the Sea of Baltimore under the protection of the patroness of the Society of Jesus. That is fact. That is total fact. So already we can see there's something not making sense. But anyway, let's continue. So it's a universal tradition that acts of government authority be marked by a seal. Ooh, I think we're already on our next slide. Now we're cooking with gas, baby. It's about to get all symbolism all day. All right. So if you're just listening, well, I think I'll explain the seal. So all governments at the time and now, they use their seal to mark their authority. Otherwise, the acts were not like authentic or whatever. And typically it's an image that represents authority, and it's amplified by some sentence, word, or phrase. You guys can think of the dollar bill, which we'll do as well. But the first seal of the United States was presented to Congress in August of 1776, created by Franklin, Adams, and Jefferson. So the seal illustrates an event based on Exodus. It's a cameo of Moses leading the Israelites through the parted waters while a chariot-bound Pharaoh wielding a sword and wearing the crown of tyranny perishes in the maelstrom. So basically, guys, if you're listening, it's exactly what I just said. It's like a rendition of Moses kind of leading his people through the water, and the Pharaoh's perishing. I know I just repeat that. But the words surrounding the seal say, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. Now that's a badass quote. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And it sounds like the founding fathers, those great Christian values, they're saying, yes, this is a Christian stamp. This is a Christian nation, right? Well, this is a country of Protestant reading the Bible men, not people that don't have a pope. They don't, they don't have a priest that they listen to no matter what they say, or an infallible guy that's chosen by God. It is wrong. So this quote, though, is not Christian. It's intensely, it looks like the Macman said, it looks like a woman's part in a cloud. It does look like that. I think we're going to get to more what that cloud is. But this phrase, obedience or rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God, is an intensely Roman Catholic saying. And as we've been over, there's a huge difference. And this is not a knock, by the way, on Catholics at all. Dude, I love the Crusades. I think it's an awesome point in history. Though the Catholic Church is corrupt, I don't know which denomination I fall in. So I got like a mean comment like, oh, you're bragging about Protestants. Dude, I literally don't. I just want to be a good Christian. I believe in Jesus and God. I don't know where I stand. I'm not knowledgeable enough. So please don't take it this way that I'm trashing on Roman Catholics. But regardless, this phrase is a Roman Catholic faith. And there's a huge difference between what the Bible says and what the Catholic Church does. The Roman Catholic Church agrees the Bible is God breathed, but it does not consider Scripture infallible nor sufficient as a rule of life, unless interpreted by, if the Pope says it is, it is. And at the Council of Trent, which we went over a few episodes ago, which was supervised by the Jesuits for 18 years, it bound Roman Catholics to thousands of doctrines not found in the Scripture or totally unknown to early church fathers, which we find out are mostly pagan things that they did in pagan Babylon, and they just kind of converted it. But anyway, let's continue. So the 1776 seal agrees with Roman Catholics as much as it disagrees with the Bible. That badass quote, "Rebellion to tyranny is obedience to God," nowhere in the Bible. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. The Bible never, ever condones rebellion, not even rebellion to tyrants under whom God's own people, the Israelites, were obligated to suffer from. And when Scripture does talk about rebellion, it's usually referencing the Israelites with Yahweh. In Proverbs, it says the evil man seeks rebellion. Damn. Another verse in Samuel, rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. Wow. And isn't that, and I might be cherry picking. Again, I know so little about the Bible, so maybe you can counter argue me with other verses. I can't argue with that. I have no idea. But these two, evil man seeks rebellion. And the only reason why, I think that the Bible is so smart, it's amazing. And I know that's a dumb statement, but think of the French Revolution, all these things, violence, guillotining, which was a Jesuit doctor who created the guillotine, by the way. All this stuff, did it lead us to a better world? Did overthrowing the monarchies of Europe make it life better for us? I don't know. I mean, we don't know what it would have turned out to be, but how's democracy working out for us? We got teachers teaching, basically they're trying to make your kids part of the state by this federally mandated religion of, what, all these things they pound into kids, literally and physically or metaphorically. That's democracy. Is that better than a Christian, Catholic, or otherwise monarch? I don't know. But it sounds like the rebellion that the founding fathers is talking about is like an end justifies the means type of thing. Now, who else used the same slogan, the end justifies the means? Oh, that's right. The Jesuit created Illuminati. Wonderful. So when Moses rebels against the Pharaoh, does he have a guillotine? Is he burning things in the street? No, it's not. They just dip. And God says, I will smite Egypt with my wonders. Get your boys the hell out of there. And that's their rebellion. So to say obedience or rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God is inherently wrong. And especially from a Protestant nation, that doesn't make any sense. But yet propaganda, you are able to convince people, trusting people like you and I, of lots, because we're emotional beings. We see injustice. We want to fix it. And they tricked us. So our God-fearing Christian founding fathers, they wanted a Christian slogan for this Christian nation, right? They could have went with Yahweh removes tyrants for his faithful or whatever, not go rebel and kill and overthrow the government. That is nowhere in the Bible, again, but our founding fathers, these supposed Christians, picked that slogan because they're not Christians. That's the point I'm making. The use of the seals is one of Roman Catholic sacred tradition, even though Scripture prohibits it. Dude, this was crazy, so crazy to me. So the only Israelite to rule with a seal is King Ahab, who, quote, did evil in the sight of the Lord above all that were before him. Doesn't the Treaty of Tripoli state that we're a nation, not a nation founded upon Christian beliefs? Dude, see, you guys are so smart. I don't know what the hell the Treaty of Tripoli is, but we aren't founded on Christian beliefs. So and we're going to get into even way more interesting than what we just did to show that. But yeah, so his seal, Ahab's, was appropriated from a pagan tradition. Oh, seals are from paganism, which was employed by his wife, Jezebel, who's like a wicked lady to commit fraud and murder. And scripture warns of unlimited, the Bible's so god darn smart. Unlimited potential for evil inherent in graven images seals. When the Pharisees demand Jesus to show them a token of his authority, he didn't show them an image. He didn't have a seal that said, yo, I'm the son of God, bitch. No, he didn't do that. He showed them scripture. So if that's good enough for him, that's good enough for me, dude. And Matthew, Paul, the apostle that had no seal except the people he'd evangelized, for the seal of my apostleship are those of you in the Lord. Again, none of the apostles had seals to show they're legit. It sounds kind of like a inferiority complex, right? These governments need to show they have power. Stop listening, be treated. Yes. Sorry, it's too long. I'm this show, I'm going to be here. We're going to be here forever. We'll have to like go to sleep together at this. So early Christian leaders regarded as best informed of any generation, rigorously opposed making images or likeness of any kind. So Yahweh's people suffered terrible things when they violated the commandment or did not identify themselves with God or anyone. But so these are like some of these quotes in the Bible that say, do not create images or likeness of Yahweh and Jesus. Exodus 24, and an inquiry into idolatry and image worship is huge in paganism. And Christianity cites there's so many people, these early church fathers, who forbade these images. Clement of Alexandria taught that the images were not true and forbidden by Yahweh, in order that we might not direct our attention to sensible objects. Another quote was, drag the soul down instead of directing the mind to the divine and invisible reality. Another guy, Tertullian, instructed servants of a god to avoid every form of imagery, even secular art. That might be a little crazy, but we can see where secular art has gotten us. And to prove this was the case, early Christians in the 1st and 2nd centuries placed visual artists in like the same group as drunkards, brothel keepers, and actors. Dude, see, again, the Bible always seems to be right. Like, actors are the worst, aren't like they are the worst. We just saw stupid Will Smith and whatever, but they warned against this. They said, be careful around these things. But for thousands of years, so all the Bible kind of says, do not, show images, blah, blah, blah. But for thousands of years in the Mediterranean cultures of paganism and Gnosticism and Kabbalah, they had received their religious and political info from myths narrated by visual art. Paulinus said they are not devoid of religion, but they just can't read. And that was the excuse that he used to the Bishop of Rome to permit him to teach with graven images that Exodus or whatever I said says you should not do. And Christ valued literacy, or why would he prohibit graphic likeness? And the apostles knew this. This is why they devote a large part of their evangelical process to spreading literacy. Oh, and this is an awesome Bible verse, Revelation 1:3. Blessed is he who reads. Hell yeah. Again, the Bible, dude. It's just, I got to read it because I feel like there's got so many good tips in there. But Peter foresaw this time of false teachers, and he said, false teachers among you shall bring in damnable heresies denying the Lord. Heresies like depicting a God who condemns images with an image. And wouldn't an image purporting to be him in reality by logic, the image of another God? And this is an important concept to think. So God says, do not create images in my likeness. So if you depict God or Jesus in an image of his likeness, that's not the God in the Bible, because he said not to do that. So Paul, aware of this compelling nature of images, warned the Corinthians how a false teacher could lead them to another Jesus and another gospel. We will not endure sound doctrine, but will heap to themselves teachers who will switch them from truth to myths. And the reason why I'm doing this is we're about to like full circle it, but this is important, right? This is super important. So when did the images start popping up? If the Bible and the early church fathers said, don't draw pictures, you're going to be worshiping the wrong God. When did it happen? When did it start? Well, the switch began in the 3rd century, beginning with Paulinus, the guy that said they can't read, who was canonized, of course. And then with Constantine, a century later, we see a new Christian visual language developed through old mythic icons that were renamed to fit Bible stories. So an iconic Christianity was spread through. So they had all these pagan artwork, right? Pagan statues, pagan paintings, blah, 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 blah. So did they burn all of this when Rome became Christian? No, they just changed the names. So all these statues of Mary or whoever, the ancient or the old ones, those statues were the pagan gods. They just then switched it in Rome and made them Christian, Mithra mixed with Christian. Yeah, dude, all this stuff, all these statues in Rome, they were pagan gods. And just like the early church fathers said, false teacher or false teachers among you shall bring damnable heresies. That wasn't the quote, but whatever it was, I just said it. That's what happened. That's literally what happened. So, So, and then they were taught that scripture rejects attempts to iconize its content. And just like Paul warned, the likeness whom they reverently gazed, these statues and paintings, was not their biblical gods. It was the pagan gods from Babylon, from ancient Babylon, from Babylonian cathedrals. And it was in these temples that the first of these artworks were created, in the Babylonian temples, where that Babylonian religion was formed 4,000 years before Christ, where the Roman Catholic sacred iconographic tradition was born. I just found that insane, dude. And this is going to be important because whose statues do we have with the Statue of Liberty that's sitting on Capitol Hill? Are those Christian gods? No. And, you could say, well, you're not worshiping them. Okay. But you're putting up pagan gods on a Christian nation. Huh. Seems a little weird to me. If I were, even if it was like you would put Mother Mary in the harbor or whoever you want, but you pick pagan gods, and we're going to get way into that too. So Congress refused to adopt this 1776 seal. Good for them. But 5 years later, in 1781, 25 French war vessel ships arrived in Chesapeake Bay with 20,000 soldiers and 90 Jesuit chaplains. Always good. You need to have, or Roman Catholic chaplains, many of which were Jesuits. So a month later, British Army surrendered to George Washington at Yorktown. The wars, And in 1782, Franklin and Adams were meeting in Paris to perfect a new treaty with the new Great Britain Prime Minister, Robert Petty. So Petty, Shelburne, Bute, we talked about all these guys in the last episodes. They were the guys that set Britain up for failure. They made, after the French and Indian War, they made Britain sign this treaty that said they could not ally with any of Europe, with the French and the British did this. These three corrupt guys who were getting paid by Jesuits did this because they needed to alienate Britain so it would have no allies in the coming Revolutionary War that they were setting up. So brilliant. So that's who Franklin and Adams are meeting. Corrupt, disgusting politicians like we have today. And so when Franklin and Adams get there, they said, oh, damn it, we're not going to be official without a seal. So they made a new seal by Charles Thompson and William Barton. Thompson, who, if you guys don't remember Thompson, he started Freemasonry in America. Good. Also, he was the guy at every single Continental Congress meeting and recorded every single thing that happened, dude. For 12 years, he took the minutes of every meeting. People in the town, when he would come, they'd say, oh, he's the truth guy. He's going to tell us what's going on. So, just priceless information. Everything people said. He was like the stenographer or whatever. So what happened to all of his documents? Could we go read them? Oh, no. What happened to 12 years of documents? As everything, he lost them or he burned them. That's what he said. Or he gave them to the Freemason Hall in Philadelphia, and that was passed on through there. But he, regardless, you never saw him. We have never seen the 12 years of minutes that this man took. Now, why would somebody do that? And his quote, when they asked him to write a book afterwards, he said, I would ruin the legacy of heroes that have been created. because they lied. They lied. They told we won. So our story told this. Yo, Brian, what's up, dude? We're about to get crazy, Brian. So I'm glad you are here. So this great seal, this one, we said no to this seal. So the new one, it's going to be straight from Bible, straight Bible, main vein Bible, no Kabbalah, no numbers, no symbols, right? Dun, dun, dun. Well, French Kabbalists, artists has this quote, a single word suffices to illumine connections which the multitude cannot grasp. Such works are available to everyone, but their significance addresses itself to an elite. Above and beyond masses, sender and receiver understand each other. Kabbalah goes beyond secret communication. It, according to them, sends them into direct contact with the living powers and forces of the universe, and through them with the eternal source of all manifestation. So basically, just like how we know the symbolism that's used in movies and wherever, it's like a nod, a wink to the other people that are part of that club. They're like, hey, dude, look what we put in here, like music videos or whatever. So, and they believe that by doing this, they are like accessing stuff, this information, their God, this Gnostic, Luciferian, Satan, the devil. That's who they're accessing with these symbols. It's a way to communicate with each other, to tell stories and winks and nods and elbows. You get it. So we saw that the unbiblical rebellion to tyrants and obedience to God slogan on the old one. Well, the new seal, here it is. Here it is. Oh, but the Great Seal is well known to initiates. It sets forth the origin, nature, and purpose plan of the American goal. Sworn to secrecy, no initiates will explain this meeting, but God always wins. That's important to remember. And people like us shine light on this darkness, on these symbols, and make others aware of this goal. So the Great Seal, here it is, guys. It is, it's on the president's thing or whatever. So on the front side, for those listening, you have the eagle clutching an olive branch, 13 arrows with a banner, E pluribus unum. Okay, now this is where we're cooking, baby. Oh, thanks, Gravy Show. Shout out, Gravy Show. You're always so nice. So we talked about this before. The eagle, oh, guys, this is just so insane. I'm so excited to do this now. The eagle is Jupiter's symbol. Earliest images of the sacred eagles, Babylonian religion, pagan Rome, everywhere. The eagle is Jupiter, the thunderbolt guy, Zeus. That's his like mascot. So the great eagles always represent Jupiter. We also identified the Babylonian sky god Anu, which became Jupiter. Eagle was still his mascot. It's the same religion. So it's just so insane, isn't this? This is what's mind-blowing. Oh, Barbara, we're getting wild, dude. So this is what's mind-blowing to me. This pagan Babylonian religion was worldwide. They just had different names for the same gods, but they used the same symbols everywhere. I mean, think about this. Rome, Greece, Babylon, Norse, like the Vikings, they all had the same gods, dude. It is a worldwide religion, or at the time, I guess not worldwide because it wasn't, the Mayans and the Incas, but all these gods, they were similar in so many ways. And it's just crazy how this penetrated each country through kingdoms and neighboring neighbors and it's so on and so on. And so this pagan religion is worldwide. So I'm saying this to prove that this religion didn't just dissipate, right? They used the pagan statues and gave them Christian names. Do you think our elites today don't worship this fake or this pagan Babylonian religion? I know you guys know that's not true, but it's clearly true. It was worldwide in a time when communication, there was no cell phones. How widespread is it today among these elites? And there is something that responds, in my opinion, when you try to access these pagan Babylonian Luciferian gods. There is. I mean, think of all our celebrities and how weird they are and what they do. If they didn't get a response, dude, I guarantee you they wouldn't be putting on occult shows at the Super Bowl and and all that stuff like that. But yeah, so eagle is Jupiter's mascot. Think of how many eagles have been in symbols for nations. Let's see. Nazi Germany, America, Rome, more and more and more and more. Oh my God. Oh God. So for 2,000 years since the death of Caesar, the eagle represented Rome's imperial power, meaning the power and the right to make laws and enforce them. Rome 2.0, baby. America is Caesarian Rome. It is. It is. It is. So, all right. And this was like even crazier. Let me see if it's the next photo. Oh my. Okay. So in many churches, Catholics and Protestants, the Bible rests on a lectern of an eagle. So I put some photos of the lecterns of eagles. Now, why would they rest the Bible, our holy book, on a forbidden, which forbids these carved images of, there are gods or whatever? Why are the eagle? Why is the eagle the lectern that sits on the Bible in many churches? Now, I am not a brilliant man, but this seems like an odd coincidence, right? This is very odd that all these churches use an eagle to rest their Bible on. I just found that my mind was like, unless it's on purpose, unless there is a reason behind it. And I'm not saying like your local priest or your pastor at your church, like it's like, oh, I'm picking the eagle because it's Jupiter's mascot. No, he doesn't know that. It's just a tradition now. But before it was a tradition, what inspired this? What inspired this? And I think it's because they're secretly having you pray to the pagan Babylonian gods in the beginning. Oh my God, wait, let's go back here. So this seal gets even crazier beyond the eagle. All right, so above the eagle, if you guys are listening again, there is like this, it's called the Aegis, and it's the little circle of clouds that holds the stars. So the Aegis is goat skin. That's what Aegis is. So in the pagan Babylonian story, also important to know, goat skin, goat, Baphomet, right? So odd that we put the goat skin clouds, the Aegis, on our Christian nation's seal. But yeah, so scripture equates the goat with worldly power and separation from God. So when Jupiter was a baby, he was nursed by a she-goat named Amalthea. And priestly artists often portrayed adult Jupiter as a satyr. He is having a man's body with the horns, hair, and legs of a goat. Dun, 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 the Baphomet, right? And when Amalthea dies, Jupiter made the clouds out of her hide. So the goat that he was nursed off of, he made the clouds out of her hide, which is weird. So we picked that same goat hide, put it in the seal, of course, because why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we do that? And the Aegis of the Great Seal glorifies the 13 5-pointed stars or pentagrams. Each pentagram represents the original state. Oh my God. Now this was literally mind-blowing. Oh, Pressy, awesome. For there is nothing covered up that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. Damn, Pressy, mic drop that ish. Baller. I'm so old that those terms were cool when I was like 20, and I realized that they are not cool anymore, but we're going to use them, right? Who cares? So anyway, stars. This was my favorite part of the whole show. I'm building up the hype, adding some building it up. Here we go. So there is a logical reason for so in Gnostic symbology, the pentagram is identified with Jupiter's wife, Venus. Okay, so stay with me, everyone. This is effing insane. So there's a logical reason that the star was identified with Venus. A dedicated astronomer, which all of our lovely founding fathers were, and all powerful people were, John Dee and Edward Kelly, they were astronomers for the Queen, blah, 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 blah. All big into this astrology. So over an 8-year period, you can watch Venus travel its celestial pathway. And it goes into 5 points. It goes into a pentagram. Venus, Jupiter's wife, in the sky, Venus makes a 5-pointed star. Venus will eventually get too close to the sun, be invisible for 14 days, and then reappear as the morning star. So you watch Venus for 8 years. It creates a 5-pointed pentagram. No other star does that. None have the same orbit. And it's called the morning star, which is another phrase we use for Lucifer. Charles Thompson, the first Freemason, the guy that burned all of his documents, the Great Seal co-designer, led a group of observers, like he had a club, a group of people, they would watch Venus. Wow, sounds awesome. They must have been crazy. So it was called the American Philosophical Society, and it was a politically radical group of young professionals, which again, there's a reason, like this is an odd club. And, oh, I love the stars. Let's start a group and let's watch Planet Venus. There's a reason behind this, right? It's too simple. Like people are, though they are, have a lot, they're not inundated with crap television and sports. This is an odd group to create unless there's some esoteric meaning behind watching Venus. But on the evening of June 3rd, 1768, colleagues in Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Thompson, as a group, they watched Venus across the sun. The goddess of Venus was adapted by the missionaries of the Roman Catholics as the Sacred Virgin Mary. These Jesuit Catholics even ascribed Mary as the Queen of Heaven. Okay, this is huge. The Queen of Heaven, a title never given to Mary in the Bible, ever. They never say it. So who is the Queen of Heaven? Is the Queen of Heaven isn't Mary because it's not in the Bible, although it is Ishtar. That's Babylonian Venus, Roman Venus. She's the Queen of Heaven, Venus. But now we just switch, just like the statues, we switch names. Yeah, Isis too, MacMan. Just like we switched the statues of the Babylonian pagan gods to biblical characters, they made Mary the Queen of Heaven. Done. Jeremiah, and this was oh my God, crazy. Jeremiah 44 or 44, I don't know, my notes think sometimes, explain how Israelites violated their covenant with God, with Yahweh, by praising the Queen of Heaven, and in turn lost their dignity, property, and freedom and everything to the Babylonians. Scripture teaches Babylonian interests have much to gain from inducing souls to praise the Queen of Heaven. The Queen of Heaven appears nowhere in the Old or New Testaments but at Jeremiah. And he mentions the Queen of Heaven 5 times. What the heck, dude? How did he know? I mean, like, if that doesn't prove to you that, like, the Bible is prophetical and these people were chosen, like, that's too crazy to be a coincidence. Nowhere does it say Queen of Heaven in the Bible. Never Mary attributed to Mary, but Jeremiah warns about worshiping the Queen of Heaven like the Babylonians do, and he does it 5 times. Venus, the Queen of Heaven for Rome and for our founding fathers and for the Freemasons and for the Jesuits, was the Babylonian god Ishtar, and in the sky, Venus makes a 5-pointed star. Crazy, dude. Crazy. And we're not done yet with the seal. Oh, we're tearing this thing apart. So far we got the Roman eagle, Jupiter's eagle. We got goat skin clouds with 13 pentagrams of the Queen of Heaven in the sky. And now we got E pluribus unum. We all see this. It's like, some American stuff. And the Gnostic understanding of this phrase is probably best explained by Manly Hall, one of the most famous Freemasons. So he says E pluribus unum refers to ancient Bacchic rites, the forerunner to Freemasonry. So what are Bacchic rites? This is part of the Babylonian religion. Time before the creation of mankind. There's 12 titans. They all looked like me. Just joking. Okay. I flex my muscles for people listening. So 12 titans cause Bacchus, Jupiter's son, to become fascinated by his own image in a mirror. Because he can't stop question. Queen of Heaven is not Mary. Not Mary, Brian. So yeah, so like the Catholics absorb this, like they call her the Queen of Heaven. And I see like a lot of like Mary worship, because Loyola, who created the Jesuits, he would pray to a statue, a black statue of Mary, supposedly of Mary. And he like dedicated all his prayers to this. But really the Queen of Heaven in Babylonian Luciferian pagan religion is Ishtar or Venus, and they just switched it. So they replaced Mary. They did the old like what's that called? Um, the Tom whatever Harrison Ford. He does the switcheroo and the Lost Ark or whatever. Indiana Jones. They did that move with the pagan god Venus. They switched it out with Mary. And just I don't know if you were here, Brian, earlier. I said all these pagan statues. They just change the names to biblical characters. So people who are worshiping statues and all this stuff like that, yes, yeah, they have an obsession with her, obsession with Mary. And this is because Loyola worshiped this black statue because he was in love with an 11-year-old when he was 27. I wonder if they tell you that about the Jesuits in school. You know, that's normal, 27 in love with an 11-year-old. But after he blew up his leg, he realized he couldn't marry her, so he just kept praying to the Black Madonna. So anyway, Titans. They're fast. Bacchus, Jupiter's son, can't stop staring at himself. And because he can't stop staring, the Titans steal him and tear him to pieces, boil the pieces in water, roast them, and eat them. All his loved ones, Baccha, to weep or lament his body parts, become the 4 parts of matter. Bacchus' sister, the Virgin Minerva, see, it's the same characters, they just change the goddamn names. The Virgin Minerva rescues his heart from the 4 elements and places it with Jupiter in heaven. Jupiter then hurls thunderbolts at the Titans, turning them to ash. The rain turns to ash, mingling with the 4 elements to form this slime. And out of this slime, Jupiter makes mankind, in which the Bacchic idea must be released. So the Bacchic idea is released from the slime's sexual energy, especially when you're intoxicated, which is why Bacchus is associated with grapevines, wild dancing, and phallic symbols of fornication. So this is important because the Washington Monument, all the obelisk, it's just different names, but it's, in Egypt, I think it's, Osiris. I think I could be wrong, but these phallic symbols are from the same story on this. The guy gets torn apart. They put him back together and they want you to have tons of sex, tons of alcohol, tons of drugs. And that's the way you can get released from this slime. And we see that today, right? What is pushed more than anything? Degeneracy, fornication, promiscuity, drug usage, et cetera, et cetera. So when death and sex have rescued the rational soul from the 4 slimy corners of earth, just think about that. A religion that tells you need to have sex and drink to be released from the slime. A transfigured eternal Bacchus is resurrected as the flaming sun, and that is the e pluribus unum. From many comes one. From these many pieces, he is formed again. So one of many resurrected, and it's symbolized also by the pentagram and the one rising out of 4 to make 5. So Hall says this is the magical formula of man. Oh, thanks, Brian. I'm glad you're enjoying it too. The human soul is arising from the bondage of animal nature. So the pentagram is the true light, the star of the morning, Venus, marking the location of the 5 mysterious centers of force, the supreme secret of white magic. Sounds insane. Basically what I just said, again, is that these symbols, the pentagram is the Venus symbolism. The e pluribus unum comes from this Bacchic story, how he was split apart by the Titans and brought together with sex and drink. He was formed one, and that's what humanity has to do. You have to bang like bunnies, consume copious amounts of alcohol, and that is the only way you can escape this evil chaos, this Gnostic prison planet that the Freemasons believe or the Gnostics believe. So with the eagle preaching, so in the e pluribus unum comes out of the eagle's mouth. It is, so the eagle preaching the Bacchic gospel, it's the salvation that antedates that of Christ by many centuries. The Bacchic gospel was preached and played out in pagan cults. A holy virgin would ritually rescue the son of God's sacred heart from the slime, imprisoning the son's soul. So these cults, these pagan Babylonian cults, they would act this story out. That's what a lot of their rituals are. They're these Luciferian rituals. And you guys have like the music videos we see, it's often this story, this from many to one, fornication, sex, blah, 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 blah. And they would realize that each time they are able to, run these rituals, they're increasing their knowledge, and usually using mind altering substances and sexual ecstasy, and it's sold to them by the priest. So each time these initiates take another ritual, another ritual, they're getting more illuminated. They're getting aware to what's getting closer to Jupiter and to Lucifer. It's just crazy in my mind that like all these mythical stories and things like that, they're all based off of the one Babylonian pagan religion. And what does this religion tell you, of course, to do? Bang, commits, all these, live by your human urges. That's why being Christian is so hard, because we're acting like we're animals at heart. It tells you to be a monogamous and no premarital sex and all these things like that. But this Babylonian pagan religion tells you, live it up, baby, do drugs, bang whoever you want. And that's how you get closer to our God, which makes sense. So now this story is at the heart of all the mystery religions, this Bacchic story. So from Babylon to the Great Seal. We got way off track of the Great Seal. I know that. We're getting back. So it prospers on fornication, mind-altering substances, the destructive fallout, and it forgives and in this religion, you get forgiven for whatever sins they have or whatever they want to call it by making appropriate sacrifices to the priest of the appropriate deity. Oh, good. Oh, good. So the reverse side of the Great Seal. Damn, that was crazy, right? We just like went all over this thing. Hopefully I'm still live. My internet showing that it's going down here. Let's see. Connection is fairly good. All right. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So we're going to do the back. Oh, here's the Great Seal again. I just put another picture of it, but just crazy. All pagan Babylonian worship. Nothing Christian on that seal. So here's the back of the seal. Well, we all love the back. So for anyone listening, the back of the seal is the pyramid. Oh, we're going to go over it. I don't know why I'm reading. So the reverse side of the Great Seal. So it says Annuit Coeptus on the top. Second, there's a 13-course topless pyramid. I'm sure the 13 is purely for the colonies, wink, wink. And with the MDCCLXXVI that we already went over, that is a gematria, numerology's wet dream. It has all this symbolism in it. In foundation, and then a disembodied eye forming the capstone with the motto, Norvis Ordo Seclorum. Oh boy. Let's break this one down. All right, we did the front. So these elements define the quote-unquote divine providence upon whose protections the signers of the declaration relied. You think that divine providence the signers relied on was God or Jesus? It wasn't. No. So the land of the pyramid, Egypt, is where Caesarean Rome was actually inaugurated. Now, this was even a crazier story. Oh my God. Damn, dude, we're already almost been doing this for like an hour and 10. I'm not even close to done. All right. So Egypt is where Caesarean Rome was inaugurated. It officially began in Alexandria, Egypt, at the Temple of Jupiter on the winter solstice, 1225-48 BC, when a 52-year-old priest of Jupiter was declared to be Jupiter's incarnation, aka the Son of God. His name was Caius, of the family Marius, Caius Maria. Also, you guys may have known him and heard of him as Caesar. So Kabbalism formed the C, Caius, and Azer for God. So that's how you get Caesar. Caius, which is his family name, Azer for God. So Caesar consented to deification. Why would he do that? Well, he needed to inherit this huge kingdom of Pergamum, present-day Turkey, and it was given to the Romans in 133 BC by King Attalus. But the catch was the people of Pergamum, they regarded their king as a God king, and Caesar was not that yet. So they would not, they had all these goods, wealth, knowledge, esoteric books, all this Caius Marius. Sorry. Sorry, someone asked a question if you're listening. But yeah, so these Paramegian kings, they'd begun ruling as gods since the fall of Babylon in 539 BC. And in that year, Persian invaders killed Babylon, the Babylonian king Belshazzar, and Belshazzar profaned. It's a story. It's not that important. But all the priests staying around, they took all the goods in the crumbling Babylon, sacred text, wealth, and they all fled to Pergamum, where they were already practicing the Babylonian religion. So all these priests, they were still had a job, baby, because they all do. So the Greeks referred to this Pergamum with the myth of Midas, the guy who everything he touches turns to gold. So Babylonian rule gave Pergamum the greatest medical complex, the Asclepion, dedicated to the pharmacological god Asclepios. Huge center for learning, 200,000 scrolls. So just all this wealth of knowledge of Babylonian cult ritual stuff is in this place of Pergamum. Mark Antony would later move his library with all this stuff from Pergamum to Alexandria, and then he moved it to the Medici Library in Florence, which is why the black popes, clearly aren't worship Christianity, because there is something deeper there, right? There's this secret mystery religion. So Attalus III dies in 133 BC, gives his kingdom to the Romans, but there's no god emperor to claim it. So it lay unclaimed for over 100 years until Caesar was declared God the Almighty in Alexandria Temple of Jupiter. And this deification entitled Caesar to become the Pontifex Maximus. That's what the Pope is referred to as, and took the name Julius. Was Julius a random name? I had no idea that Julius Caesar was not his name until this book. Maybe you guys did, but I had no idea. But so why did he pick Julius? The name was, it was taking the descent, because he became a god king, so he needs a backstory, right? He needs a Marvel superhero story. So the legendary Aeneas, which is from this book of the Virgil's books, they were like the Holy Bible of Rome. And so there was this hero who would sacrifice their individuality for the glorious collective Rome. And Aeneas was the offspring. And I know it sounds like I'm saying Aeneas. It's not that I'm saying Aeneas. It says Aeneas, Aeneas. So I guess that's it. So in this story that pagan Rome worshipped, Aeneas was the offspring of Jupiter's wife, Venus, and a human. And so this guy, he got cocky. He's like, I'm banging Jupiter's wife. And Jupiter struck him down with a thunderbolt. So Julius, taking this name, he's claiming descent of this family lineage, that this male human banged Venus, the queen of heaven, Ishtar. And he even claimed that he was conceived of a virgin. Caesar said this. Caesar said he was, he could have been an anus. Macman said, you're so true. What's up, Weez Plato? But so Julius claimed he was born of a virgin from a god king family line. And she was so much of a virgin, that's why she delivered Caesar via C-section, hence the cesarean section. Now, that was a crazy story. But the point I'm doing this is I'm diving into that Caesar was inspired by the annuit coeptus. God hath favored this undertaking. That's what annuit coeptus means, which is on the top of the back of the seal here. Spoken by a young Julius Caesar, or Julius Ascanius in the Virgil's Atenad, that story that we just talked about, banging Venus, having the kid, that Julius Caesar supposedly comes from this family line. That's in this Roman holy pagan book. They use the phrase, the annuit coeptus. God had favored this undertaking. And this was spoken when the Trojans were outnumbered. Julius, not Caesar, the guy in the book, took the position up front, and there's a giant, Remulus. And he's laughing at the little guy, and the Trojans like, you're sending this puny guy to fight me? I'm a monster. And while chuckling, Julius in the book shoots an arrow towards the heavens, and he cries, annuit coeptus. And Jupiter clearly favored their victory in the story. And that's why this phrase stuck. So our Christian forefathers, the great Christian values, picked this pagan story from the holy book of pagan Rome, from Babylonian cult, to put on the back of our coin. Doesn't sound very Christian to me when you're picking a Latin phrase that, again, is in a secret Babylonian mystery religion story, that's what you go with for your coin or for the back of your seal, I mean? Again, so why would you pick this phrase? You could have picked David versus Goliath, a biblical story. The quote, like the Lord saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give into you into our hands. The battle is the Lord's. That's a badass quote, right? That would be a great on this back of a seal. The battle is the Lord's. That is a Christian phrase. But our founding fathers and the Jesuits, they were not biblical. No. They were Luciferian, Gnostic, Babylonian weenies, and they picked that's Latin phrase instead. Crazy. Regardless, all of this 4 years later, Caesar gets assassinated. That whole story, blah, blah, blah. And so after all of that happened, Virgil, this guy who wrote poems in Rome, wrote a poem about the Prince of Peace with the words Novus Ordo Seclorum. Damn it, I should have made that joke. I should have said, well, at least Nova Ordo Seclorum is going to be a biblical verse. But anyway, so that phrase is said in, again, this pagan religion story. So in the poem, Virgil, of course, is talking about the golden age of Saturn with this immaculate virgin. So anyway, it was written for Caesar's divine son Octavius because you need to keep this God King story up. So Virgil writes this poem, entertainment, theater, to trick people, to propagandize them into believing that Caesar's godson is the next God King is going to bring this golden age of Saturn back. The golden age of Saturn. So much symbolism I'm understanding now because I read this book. Like now it makes so much more sense. And Octavius was supposedly born as a thunderbolt blasted the Jupiter temple. And he was picked by Jupiter. He was saved by his mother. All the male babies were killed. Octavius's mom was the niece of Caesar, and Caesar essentially adopted him. And immediately the propaganda machine in Rome got working for Octavius. They said he was conceived on December 25th by Apollo, who came in serpent form and impregnated his mom as she slept on the Apollo floor, the Apollo Jupiter. They said as a toddler, his head was licked by golden flames. That sounds weird. But anyway, they claimed he was the incarnation of Jupiter and ruled by Saturn. The same God who ate his own children. Good. The same phrase that is referenced, this Novo Ordo Seclorum, which was created in this poem that, is talking about Jupiter and how Saturn, the golden age of Saturn, when Saturn ate his babies. I think that's accurately depicts that should be on our seal because that seems to be where we're going. Cannibalism is only a few steps away. We're getting there. That's very fitting. They picked the seal that their country is ruled by Saturn because that Saturn ate his babies. If you guys didn't know that, that's where we're headed. So perfect. Awesome. So anyway, that's the Romans worshipped Octavius so much, and he took the name Augustus Caesar, the son of God, and Julius Caesar was worshipped as the father. Damn, dude, isn't that insane? So this is why December 25th is picked. Octavius was born on that day, supposedly. The statues of the Babylon were switched to Christian names. Do you guys see this? So all of these guys, all of these stories and things that we take as Christian, much of it isn't. It's pagan repurposed in these ancient times because they wanted you to secretly be worshiping their pagan gods. This isn't to say you shouldn't celebrate Christmas on December 25th, but these things were picked, and you guys know that, and they say, oh, well, we had to switch people over from pagan to Christianity. No. It wasn't done for that. It was done for that by these priests who, were these Babylonian secret mystery religion priests. And when Christianity was deemed that was the religion, do you think they said, well, I'm a pagan priest, I'm not switching to Christ? No, they switched. Believe me, they wanted to keep their wealth, but they knew they could secretly still worship their secret religion if they just did little things that stayed the same and would tell you lies. And that's why they didn't let you read the Bible for the first however many years. And they banned it. They killed people. That's why Protestants were created. That's how they were started, because they couldn't read the Bible, and they were reading the Bible and they're like, my God,
This isn't in the Bible. This is why the original Catholic corrupt church didn't want them reading the Bible, because it would come out that these traditions they're doing they're not in the Bible. But anyway, so that is the Holy Virgin got the sacred. Oh, wait. Oh, in the Romans, back to Augustus, he could cure people by touching them, supposedly. People would give all of their wealth when they died to him. He got over $1 billion in gold by 1994 numbers. Kingdoms, villages, marble, every riches, he got it. But back to the Great Seal. The Great Seal tells this story that we just went over. The resurrecting God's Son from the parts of evil slime of humans. The Holy Virgin got the Sacred Heart from the slime, the E pluribus unum, the one for many. And the God of the Seal wields the fasces to sweep the earth clean of traces of sin, assisted by the New World Order, destroying all individual identity. Any rival conscientious citizens are cut down, because in the golden era of Saturn, baby, strictness, cruelty, cannibalism, should it be necessary. Damn, dude. And that's the story and the saying we picked on our seal. That's it. This story of cannibalism, of killing people, all this stuff, that's what we picked. And when August was deified, he then slaughtered 300 senators, similar to, I don't know, maybe our president authorizing the murder of 100 misguided Christians down in Waco, Texas. This is Rome 2.0. Oh boy, we're just getting gosh darn started. All right. Bedtime's going to be a little late for me tonight. How many pages we got? Okay. All right. Now we're going to be crazy here, guys. Crazy. Oh, here's, we're already getting ahead. So you might just take a drink. All right, here we go. So we're not stopping there. Washington, D.C., their Kabbalistic Luciferian worship does not stop with the Great Seal, does not stop front and back, does not stop with the flag, does not stop with the stamp. Let's do the layout of the city. Here we go, dude. This was another one of my favorite parts. So first off, Rome's god of gods was Jupiter, as we talked about. He served in temple where you would worship him in temples called the Capitolia, meaning head. So as we talked about, our capital, Capitolia, is a temple for Jupiter. That is what makes it a Capitolia. Odd name to choose for it, for our capital. But the capital was built on land, as we said, known as Rome, before being selected by a Jesuit bishop, Carroll, who owned Maryland, essentially. Mary's land, the Virgin Mary, the Queen of Heaven, aka Venus, aka Ishtar. Oh, yes, String, there's a recording later. I'll post it right after this. So subdividing the city was an engineer named Charles L'Enfant. L'Enfant got the job through the Jesuit priest Carroll, sure, because he was a great city designer. Didn't hurt that he was also a Freemason, divided the city into tons of symbolism and numerics, laying out the city in a perfect pentagram. You guys don't need to see me. I'll just put this up. Laying on a perfect pentagram. So you have the White House. Let's see if we can make it any bigger. Oh, it's too big. Too big. Back, too big. All right. But anyway, so he was a Freemason. He he put out in the perfect pentagram. The pentagram, as we've talked about ad nauseum, is the same movement of the planet Venus, the Queen of Heaven, which was switched with the Virgin Mary. The pentagram points downward. This is so huge, forming the shape of Baphomet, the goat's head that was worshipped by the Knights Templar. So pentagram upside down is important because a pentagram upside down represents the perverted power in black magic and life. And with the ultimate irony, what's the bottom of the most perverted part of the pentagram? What is the bottom? Of course, the White House. How lovely is that? Thank you, Charles L'Enfant. You are awesome. You know, God has a sense of humor, and that I'm sure he allowed them to do this because, look, that is the epitome of our Great Seal's pagan. We have a Baphomet, and the bottom of the Baphomet, the most perverted part, is at home in the White House. I just love that. Does it stop there? Oh, no, 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 guys. It does not stop there. The numbers in the city, do you think they were random? No, 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 no. There's a 600 series from Q Street below to V Street. All the numbers between 600 and 699 are assigned to blocks within this swatch, except one number's missing. Do you guys want to take a guess which number is missing? 666. Okay, so maybe they were Christian, right? I'm just joking. The number is missing from the map, but it's there. It's put in an unnumbered section in the 600. So the Capitol grounds that were once called Rome, the capital, the Temple of Jupiter, is where the 666 address number lies. In the beast, the number, the name of the beast. So America's Temple of Jupiter, the capital, sits upon the Baphomet beast named at 666. Crazy, dude. Oh, this is founded on Christian values. Yeah, yeah. The Congressional Medal of Honor also sits in the Baphomet. The Congressional Medals of Honor also in the downward pointed star. See, and so you could say, oh, well, maybe they just pick stars because it's a, whatever. It's a common symbol. Every star is the downward pointing star. That's the perverted star, the perverted power of Baphomet. That's the star they chose, the downward facing star. This is rewarding Americans who sacrifice for the most for their country. This Roman ideal, forget invent, go to collectivism. What are they pushing always? Communism. That's what this star, you're being rewarded for dying for this. And this is no slight to men and women that have given their lives. Oh my God, I feel so amazing. They're amazing people, but just so sad, dude. Just so sad. And this is why they get the Baphomet, because it's the pagan mystery, Roman religion. And Josh said, I may have missed it, but isn't the grounds of the White House in the shape of an owl? There is some owl there, Josh. I don't go into that in this book, but I know you're right. I think by the Washington Monument, there's maybe the city streets make a big owl, I think. But and the owl is Minerva. Minerva is Ishtar, I believe. Oh, we're going to get to Minerva. Never mind. I don't want to spoil it. Okay, so 666 is the number capital sits on, of course. The prehistoric name for Rome was Saturnia, the city of Saturn. Settlers naming that after coming from Babylon, going to ancient Rome, they named it Saturnia. Saturnia was pronounced Satyr, but spelled S-T-U-R, and continue with numerology and the huge language of Kabbalah and gematria. S equals 60. 2 equals 400, U equals 6, R equals 200. So you do that quick mental math, it's the lovely 666. So Rome is another name for 666. Soon after completing his master plan, though, Lafayette had beef with the Jesuit Bishop Carroll and his brother. He was building a house in Lafayette's demonic Baphomet plan. He wouldn't move it. So Lafayette tore it down, but that guy was way above his pay grade. And they got rid of Lafayette, but he's still set up. So George Washington removed him from the project. He was replaced. And oh God, there's just so much stuff. Oh, Josh, you don't need to say sorry. Jesus, no one ever needs to say sorry, dude. Yeah, so George Washington he removes him from the project, Lafayette, the Freemason, and he gets replaced. And so when he gets replaced, they do a big ceremony. Here's the photo. Let's make it a little bigger. A big ceremony where they're about to build on 666 Capitol Hill, Temple of Jupiter. They have George Washington in his full Freemasonic garb. How lovely. And it's a huge procession, music, band. And what does he do? Oh, also, the first cornerstone that he cut, that they lay, this is all astrological, what the time he did it and everything like that. He got his stone from Eagle Quarry. What is the eagle again? Of course, the representation of Jupiter. Is that a conspiracy or just a coincidence? I don't know. I just found that interesting. George Washington consecrates the stone from Eagle Quarry by pouring corn, wine, and oil on it. Okay. I'm going to say that sounds like he's doing a little bit of a pagan spell. Maybe it's a coincidence. Then they had a huge barbecue with a 500-pound ox. maybe innocent, but Julius Ascanius in that holy book where he got the Coptus, whatever, he's shooting the arrow at the big guy. In this story, he says he will bring a great white bull to the altar of Jupiter in a land. So into the altar of Jupiter. So George Washington pouring wine and corn, offering a burnt sacrifice on the capital, on the once called Rome, upon a land that was called Rome, to the 666 capital, an offering to their god Jupiter. Crazy, dude, crazy. Also point out the plaque had 3 time systems on it: years of independence of US, years of George Washington administration, and years of Freemasonry. Never mentioning the years of Jesus Christ. Never. Why you picked those 3? So 8 years after this burnt offering sacrifice that was talked about in the Roman Holy Book, Congress met in 666 Capitol Hill for the first time. Georgetown University was right there, also in the Baphomet, created by the Bishop Jesuit John Carroll in 1789. Georgetown quickly became foreign domestic policy incubator, as we know. I think Madeleine Albright, who just died, taught there. Hopefully she repented for her evil ways before she died. Oh yeah. So who created Georgetown, guys? Who was the originator of Georgetown? The Jesuits, because it was Carroll's college. The Black Papacy seal still appears on Georgetown's campus. And here it is. So for you guys, I haven't been explaining the pictures for people listening. Whatever. I don't think we missed many. But yeah, so the black seal here, it says 1789, and it has an eagle, of course, because why wouldn't it have an eagle? It has a bunch of pentagrams and downward facing stars. Oh, the Roman eagle grasped both the word and cross banner saying utrac unum, both together. Sounds very Christian, but it's ruling the Catholic Church and the state together. That's why they picked it. Pope Pius eventually restores the Jesuits in 1814. And supposedly Adams and Jefferson were like, oh, I don't like the resurrection of the Jesuits, even though they were Freemasons who listened to the same superior general the Jesuits did, just unknowingly for most cases. But the next 70 years, the Jesuits are back in biz. The boys are back in town. Boys are back in town. And Roman Catholic immigration to U.S. exploded. They used to be the minority. Maryland was their home state, Roman Catholic state, because the Carroll, the bishop, the Jesuit priest, Andrew White. That's why they named it the White House, not because it was painted white, because Andrew White consecrated or whatever the land the White House sat on for the Jesuits, for the Pope, the Black Pope. And it's like a nod, a wink to Jesuits in the know, like, oh, the White House. It is our house. It is the Jesuit house. That's why they named it that. So the Roman Catholic, they were the minority. And then Protestants the immigration from Roman Catholics exploded. It outnumbered the Protestants. All of these guys come into America. Why were they coming? They were all escaping tyrannies created by their own church in Europe. The Jesuits created this group to flood their new country that they just controlled now through Freemasonic means, blah, 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 blah. And we got a few more symbols to cover, and then we'll be done, like maybe 15 more minutes. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I love this. I thought it was so much fun. So Columbus dedicating the New World Tour to Mary. To the Queen of Heaven, Venus, Ishtar, aka Mary. Andrew White dedicating Maryland tour. Bishop Carroll dedicated the See of Baltimore tour. And in 1846, Roman Catholic bishops declared Mary to be the patroness of the U.S. They're using Mary to sound religious, to sound Christian. It's not. It's a code word. It's the Queen of Heaven. It's the Babylonian religion. The Jesuit bishops made Mary the Queen of Heaven, aka Ishtar, aka Venus, aka the pagan Babylonian god, the patroness of the United States. Boom, baby. Crazy, right? For the first 2 years of her patronage, we got the Oregon Territory, the Southwest, California, but tensions were rising, and the Queen of Heaven was about to deal with some enemies the same way Ishtar did with the enemies of Babylon, slaughtering, mass murder. Now, as holy as Mary is, right? She's amazing. She birthed our Savior, right? But so this isn't like a bashing of Mary, but this is bashing this fabricated story of her rising her status that stems from pagan Babylonian religion, from Luciferianism, the feminine worship, the female worship. This is why the Jesuits push this. It's all part of this sick Luciferian religion. The first and the person who raised Mary to be like this, in Genesis, Satan's seed will be bruised by the seed of Eve, and they started saying this pope, the first pope to be labeled infallible, he can't be wrong, or whatever people argue what this word means. Infallible essentially means that, so whatever, I don't care. But he's the one that raised Mary officially to this level, like on the books. He said that Mary was free of sin, just like Jesus. And totally at this exact time when he said Mary was free of sin, Pope Pius the Ninth, there was this crazy, crazy obsession in America. You know what we're going to do, everyone? We're going to expand the Capitol's dome. We're going to make it impregnated. We're going to make it huge, huge, huge dome. So never before, ever, probably in the history of America, was anything done this quickly by Congress or embraced wholeheartedly. But this was. Thomas Eustace Walter, a Freemason, of course, drew up the new proposed dome. It had a figure on the top. Is it going to be a Jesus? Like, yeah, the Bible tells you not to do that. Who's going to be put on the top? Only authorized. Oh, so who did they decide to put on the top of the dome? Here she is, Persephone. Okay, so who is Persephone? Well, she's the Greek Roman goddess of the psyche or soul, leading people to the leading deity of the mysteries of ancient Greece. So she's a mystery cult god. She was abducted by Hades, and he was made her his consort of the underworld. She was distinguished for her immaculate conception. Now, most Persephone statues in the Roman Empire, as we talked about earlier, had been reconsecrated as the Virgin Mary. So if you were alive back then, you said, wait, that was Persephone. And the Pope would say, no, that's Mary. You're wrong. It's Mary. It's not Persephone. It's Mary. So what do we do, in this Christian nation? Well, we pick Persephone to be on top of our dome. They got $3,000 for the statue. Tom Crawford got the contract. Of course, where's Thomas from? Oh, he lives and works in Rome as a Freemason, gaining notoriety for making a statue of Orpheus. That was the first male statue in the U.S. Since another name of Persephone was Libera, Crawford named his statue Freedom. Her right hand resting on a sword, which we see. So everyone listening, it's the statue that's on top of the Capitol. So the sword's pointing downward. The left hand leaned the shield to the U.S., held a laurel wreath, crowned with eagle head and feathers on a tiara of course, pentagrams, some inverted, some not. Oh, here's even crazier. So, of course, she's getting put on lot 666 on the Temple of Jupiter. Freedom stands 19 feet, 6 inches tall. Totally random, I'm sure. This Freemason had no preconceived ideas of how big to make it. So on lot 666, she's 19 and 6 inches, which is 6 feet, 6 feet, 6 feet plus 6 feet plus 6 feet, and 6 inches plus 6 inches plus 6 inches. So on lot 666, 666 feet, 666 inches. Boom, boom. Standing on a pedestal that reads from the Bacchic Gospel, E pluribus unum, which we already went over what that means. The Bacchic, from the many pieces, they made them into one with lots of sex and drinking. Flanked by 12 wreaths and many fascia, which is a bundle of rods wrapped around an axe, symbolizing the Roman totalitarianism. Again, symbols. We did that quote about that from the Kabbalist, like how important symbols are because they can transcend things that cannot be said. And it's a secret wink. These things are on purpose. This isn't just like, oh, you know what? I'm going to give Persephone a few stars. I'll put the symbol for fascism on it or totalitarianism. What else are we going to do? I'm going to make it 6, on slot 666, all these things. It's planned. It's a secret symbol to show who's running this country. Crawford ended up dying. Civil War, blah, blah, blah. That's not, but Abe Lincoln, is this important? Lincoln claimed he was not just, Lincoln claimed he was not just fighting the South, but he's fighting the Pope of Rome and his Jesuits. And he said very few Southern leaders are not under the influence of Jesuits. This does not make Abe Lincoln a good guy. He is a despicable tyrant, but I found that interesting, that his quote. But the Jesuits were also behind this Civil War, just like the Revolutionary War. They promised Jefferson Davis, who was not a Catholic, but he was very close with a Jesuit spiritual leader. They promised them weapons and the help from all these Europe, France, and the Catholic Church to help attack the North. So again, here we find them again, creating chaos, creating war, making sure that they will have a national, no states breaking away from this Jesuit country. And that's why they squashed it. Regardless, like I said, Maryland at this time was primarily Roman Catholic. So before they put Persephone up on the 666 Capitol, they allowed it for the public to look at it. The American Commissioner of Public Buildings, did he take a photo of Persephone? Nah, why would I? The America's pioneer photographer? No, I'm not going to take a photo. Now, why would both these gentlemen, who are photographers, not take a close-up photo of this historic moment of putting this statue on the Capitol? Probably because most of everywhere else in America was Protestant. And they would say, why are we putting a pagan god with all this pagan symbolism on top of the Capitol building, right? And that's why they didn't take a photo of it. But regardless, so they put her up to be, we're liberty, we're free, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. So then why is Persephone, this pagan god, looking at, to this day, she faces across Maryland and across the Atlantic towards Rome. This was a move, again, like she should be looking at our country, or at least westward or northward or whatever, southward. They spin her totally backwards to look across the Atlantic Ocean because it's a wink nod to Rome. All right. Do you guys want to we got one more, the Capitol dome painting. I got to do it. I did it. Oh, we didn't do oh man, we got so much stuff. All right. Okay, we're going to do the dome. This is a laugh chapter anyway. Thanks for staying as long as you guys did. I know this is a long one. I know it's long. So the Capitol dome painting. This guy, Bermindi, he got awarded the project. He's a funny guy because he tried to overthrow the papacy back in Rome. He gets arrested, put in prison for 18 years. Then he gets reduced to 6, then to 2 years, and he gets out within 2 weeks. And the Pope gave him a pardon, even though he tried to overthrow him, supposedly, and he puts him on a boat to America. Of course, he's a Freemason. He's greeted by Thomas Walter. Walter was helped with the Capitol. And in 1855, Bermindi was painting a Blessed Virgin for the St. Ignatius Church in Baltimore. And finally, in 1862, he starts working on the sketches for the fresco that's in 666 Capitol, Jupiter's Temple. And Weeze Plato, I didn't hear it. Weeze Plato says John Wilkes Booth, part of the Knights of the Golden Circle. I've never heard that, but he's definitely, we'll get to it in a second. But that's interesting. I would like to learn more about that. So there's this gap between him working on the fresco from him getting the job. But regardless, he entitles it Apotheosis of Washington. Apotheosis, what is that? It is defined as the act of placing a prince or other distinguished person among heathen deities. This was often bestowed on illustrious men of Rome, followed by the erection of temples and the institution of sacrifices to the new deity. And I don't want to do this, but I have to sidetrack because Weiss Plato talked about John Wilkes Booth, and baby, we got to tell the story in full. So, all right, in 1865, Confederacy's not looking good, and April 14th looked as equally not good for Mr. Lincoln. Country's leading actor, John Wilkes Booth, cried out an oath of Jesuit priest, semper tyrannis, always death to tyranny, which the Jesuit priests say when they're taking their Jesuits take this loyalty oath, talked about the knife and everything like that. And so he says the same thing they say. And this assassination acts just like Lee Harvey Oswald's. Like Lee Harvey Oswald, remember, was like he's a communist. He's sympathetic to Cuba. That's exactly how Booth was, quote unquote, loyal to the Confederacy. He didn't really care, guys. He was put there on purpose from the Jesuits. It gave the union of our beloved president after he killed him. That gave all the justification for the North to squash the South and just destroy everything. That's why they did that. It's like the Hegelian dialectic, right? Just like 9/11, just like Pearl Harbor, just like the Gulf of Tonkin. That's what John Wilkes Booth was for. So that way the North could burn, rape, pillage, which they did to those poor Southerners who were innocents, civilians, because one of them killed the president who actually, he was a drunkard. He was a gambler. But anyway, Booth associated with 7 people, all brought to trial. It was put in military court, even though they're civilians, which is illegal. They were all devoted Roman Catholics, never brought up in the trial. Andrew Johnson, the new president, he ran the trial. He was a Freemason, meaning he listens to a quote unquote unknown superior, aka the Black Pope, but nothing to worry about. Closed the courtroom to press. What's it? You really, Jack Allen, Barbara M? No, Jack, I don't know what that means. I'm so confused. But he closed the courtroom to all the press except for certain ones he hand selected. He would tell them what would happen and they would publish, just like they do today, right? So they never mentioned that all these people were Roman Catholics. And then last part of the story before we get done with the fresco. So Mary Stewart, she was a lady involved with this assassination. She wanted to beg for mercy because she had so little to do with it. And so she tries to go beg to President Johnson. 2 guys stop her from doing that. They did not want her to spill the beans on anything she had. The one guy was drowned with weights and water. The other guy, a senator, shot himself. Just again, like the CIA does all this stuff like that. And so just crazy. Just nothing's changed in 200 years. Brian isn't me, Barbara. I'm so confused when I'm reading the chat. He's not Jack Allen. That's Brian. I'm Jack Allen. But anyway, so back to the dome. Back to the dome. So here we are. We are at the dome. And this is it. We got 10 more minutes. So hang in there. It's crazy story. So the sun god, which is drawn here, right here, the sun. For anyone listening, we are doing the fresco that's underneath the Capitol. So if you'd like to check it out when you had some time, definitely do it. And you can listen to this part of the show. So the golden light radiates outward to the next line of Julius, the god kings. Who's that? George Washington. Here he is up here with all the pagan gods in heaven looking down on us, which is creepy in itself. That's kind of what they try to deify Trump. It's a similar thing, or how the people deify the left politicians. It's a trick, everybody. It's a trick. There is no God king politician. So he is a sword of justice in his left hand, basking in the light of Pontifex Maximus. He rules over territories. He is like Caesar before him, the God, the father of this country, which we refer to him. That's how they refer to Caesar. On the right hand of the father sits Minerva. So the right-hand side sits Minerva. Praise for her. And Minerva is holding the fasces, the Roman, the sticks and the axe thing for Roman totalitarianism. She's the virgin goddess of the Sacred Heart who rescued the heart and gave it to Jupiter in heaven. So she collected Bacchus's heart. Praised for her justice and wisdom, she's called Minerva. When praised for her beauty and love, she is known as Venus, the queen of heaven. So kind of a dual character. So we have the queen of heaven next to George Washington. Awesome. That's great. Christian nation, baby. Christian nation. In ancient paganism, Minerva, this was so huge. Minerva in pagan Babylon religion would hear the prayers of the mortals and pass them on to Jupiter. This is the exact same thing Loyola did. He said you would pray to Mary and she would pass it on to God. Do you see? They tricked us, dude. They're pulling a scam on us, and it's so goddamn frustrating, and no one knows this. They're using Mary as a whatever, but she's not. She's a wonderful person. She gave birth to our Savior, but she is not, what's that called? Sinless or without sin or whatever. They're lying to you. They're replacing her with the pagan gods. That's what they're doing. And then he's got, is that the only pagan people there? No. There are 13 nubile goddesses, feminine worship again from the Babylonian cult. The original states with the white banner, the soul of the basket gospel, again, the E pluribus unum, as the head of each state in goddess floats with a magical white pentagram. See down here, you see that? See, these guys have pentagrams over their heads. All the deities do. That's the Baphomet, of course. Then Bernini painted more Roman gods mingling with American mortals, and that's like in the second level. So here's JW chilling with all the goddesses with Minerva. So first he has Vulcan, the god of fire and craftsmanship and war, placed his foot on a cannon while workers prepare for weapons of death. Nice to put on your new free countries, whatever. Neptune with his big ass trident. Let me see. Here's Neptune with a big ass trident and a horse-drawn chariot. The wise Minerva communicates with Franklin. Communicates with Ben Franklin here. And the guy who invented Morse code and the guy who invented the steamship. Why? This is like, that's so odd to draw a pagan god with your founding fathers. Like, if for a Christian nation, that does not make any sense. Does it? Am I like crazy? Like, why would you? I don't get it. Like, why didn't our people, like at our ancestors at this time, say, yo, this is kind of weird, isn't it? Why are we putting these guys hanging out with pagan gods? Aren't we a Christian nation? Then you see they're all wearing pentagrams right here. This is the immaculately conceived dreadnought Mary wearing pentagrams and an eagle headdress, of course. She's got an eagle flying next to her, Jupiter. And she's actually chasing down enemies, attacking them with her eagle, Jupiter's power, sitting right underneath George Washington. Everything is picked specifically, guys. This guy, Bramindi, the Freemason, didn't just say, I'm going to draw this. Oh, shit. Why don't I add this in there? Right? No. And the sketches were reviewed for years by fellow Freemasons. They knew what they were doing. And this is the last part. Wow. I have really loved this show. I hope you guys did. All right, here's the last part. Okay, so this boy right here. Oh, not right there. Let me see where it is. What the heck? Which one? Let me go to the beginning here. Not the show, just the pictures. All right, I think it's, regardless, I think it's this one. So this picture here, the guy's wearing, you can't see. Oh, here he is, right here. This guy in the left-hand corner. If you're listening, it's in the scene where next to Vulcan. But there's this young American. He's supposed to represent America wearing a Phrygian hat. It's called a Phrygian cap. You can't see his face, but he's wearing the Phrygian cap. Why is he wearing the Phrygian cap? Phrygia was in the kingdom of Pergamum, that place that deified their gods, that Caesar got once he became deified, that had the Babylonian religion, this mystery cult, sicko Luciferian worship. That was where the Phrygian cap got its name from. Phrygia is Greek for free man, hence where we get free from. Free. Phrygian caps were given to freed Roman slaves. This is so huge to indicate their new liberties and status. But Roman law said that liberty, as quickly as it is granted, could be revoked at any time for any reason. So slaves were given that hat, say, enjoy your freedom while you got it, buddy. And then, oh, never mind. Give me that hat back. Now you're not free. And that's supposed to represent the people of America. He's like known as America, that character, wearing this Phrygian hat that says you're free as long as we say you can be free. If we want to take off your hat, you're no longer free. And lastly, we have Mercury right here. Mercury is the trickster god who was also drawn over the Council of Trent that we talked about, that set up this the Jesuits' power pretty much and everything like that versus the Protestants. And Mercury watched over the meeting in the Council of Trent. The trickster god is watching over the Pope's meeting. That's the famous painting. Of course, makes total sense, right? A Christian painter is painting the Pope with the trickster god of Mercury on top of it. Bermindi, he almost died, almost hanging 58 feet, just hanging there. Probably God saying, you idiot. Can't believe you did this to these people. And he got help, but the stress killed him. And that's it, guys. Wow. It's just amazing. This all started from a guy worshiping a black Madonna statue who loved an 11-year-old girl, whips himself with iron spikes, homeless bum, and his organization grew like a virus. Colleges, university, theater, propaganda, Revolutionary War, Civil War, tricking people to worship things that aren't in the Bible, but are yet actually Roman, pagan, Babylonian gods that our elites to this day still worship. And like the Templars before them, with their Gnostic, Kabbalistic, numerological Satan worshiping, it hid under the disguise of Christianity. Like I said, the Templars worshiped the goat head, the Baphomet. So I told you I'd say my opinion. I know it's late. Do I think the Jesuits are behind it all? I don't like to make claims like this. Anyone that gives you these answers, I would say, well, dude, you don't really know. Like you don't really know. But I do think that once you have power, it rarely falls away and it doesn't just dissipate. So they had all this power back then. Is it possible? Yeah. But do I think Jesuit priests or Jesuit colleges today are running the world? No. I think that just like the Templars rebranded into the Jesuits and Freemasons and blah, 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 these Freemasons, obviously, they've rebranded too. They rebranded into the World Economic Forum. They rebranded into international banking. They moved into the CFR and so on and so on. And soon there'll be another group. But these are all the same people, which is what's the important part. They're the same kind of people, these fake elites worshiping not our God, not Christianity, but a secret religion masked in other religions. And that could be Islam, Christianity, Judaism, all of them. There's people at the top. They hide behind these masks to say, oh, you can't attack me. I am a Christian or whatever. And they're not, because we know that they are worshiping these gods that were put in. Yes. Anyway, so that is it. This is coming back too. Luciferian sun, Babylonian cult worship, sacrifice, all this stuff is rebranded now into hippy dippy energies and crystals and things like that. And they've tricked us all. It's theosophy. It's all these things just repackaged over and over and over. Oh, Pressy, that is beautiful. Pressy said it's the same Roman death cult that killed our God, Jesus. Pressy, that's what we're going to end on right there. Everyone, thank you for listening to this long show. I am Jack Allen. Follow me at Kojak Podcast. Leave a review, subscribe. I love the reviews. And thank you all for listening to me. And we'll talk soon, everybody. I think my next episode is Medici family. So we'll see. All right. I'm out, my friends. Much love. Peace.